So we have to do our own reorganization for the agency. Let's take on the chair first.
I'd like to nominate that Chair Broadwater remains chair.
Second.
Sounds good to me. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
At this time, we'll nominate vice chair.
And I'd like to nominate that Vice Chair Nguyen remains vice chair.
Second.
Thank you.
Call for the vote. We have one consent item.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Move the item.
We have a motion.
Second.
Call for the vote. Public hearings.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
I want to move this along a little faster.
Mr. Chair, your first public hearing is to consider a lease agreement with Focus Auto Sales, and Carlos Marquez is here to give a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fertel. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the agency. The item before you for consideration this evening is a month-to-month lease between the Garden Grove Agency for Community Development and Focus Auto Sales for continued occupancy of agency-owned property at the Brooker's Triangle. On April 15, 2009, the agency acquired the subject property and took title subject to a prior lease dated November 1, 2002, and an extension dated November 1, 2005 with respect to the premises. The term of the prior lease expired on October 31, 2008, and as of November 1, 2008, the tenant commenced its month-to-month tenancy of the premises at $5,100 per month. On July 22, 2009, the tenant submitted a written request seeking a significant reduction in the monthly rent due under the prior lease. And furthermore, the tenant offered to the agency to waive and release its future or potential eligibility for relocation assistance and benefits in exchange for below-market rent for the premises at $2,500 per month. In response to the tenant's request, agency special counsel has drafted a new lease agreement and a release and waiver agreement regarding relocation assistance and benefits. A summary of the terms of the new lease are as follows. The premises consists of approximately 24,750 square feet of improved land. Rent set at $2,500 a month with a security deposit also $2,500 a month. And the tenant will continue to operate its Focus Auto Sales business primarily and exclusively for the sale, leasing, and servicing of new and used motor vehicles. The tenant has been informed of the agency's obligation to provide relocation assistance per California relocation law and has agreed to waive and release the agency from further relocation assistance in exchange for reduced rent. The financial impact to the city is positive in that the agency will receive $2,500 per month in lease revenue for an anticipated minimum of 12 months or until the site is needed to begin the Brooker's Triangle development. Additionally, the city will continue to receive the sales tax generated from the Focus Auto dealership for the duration of the lease. At this time, staff recommends that the agency approve the attached release and waiver agreement regarding relocation assistance and benefits, approve the attached lease with the tenant, authorize the director and secretary to execute the pertinent documents on behalf of the agency, and authorize the director to make minor modifications to the lease on behalf of the agency when and if appropriate to do so. And this concludes the presentation. Staff is available to answer questions.
Any questions for staff?
Actually, I do.
Please.
I'm probably a little bit more comfortable if we can set a term lease to this, or at least for a period that fixed. We don't know when the Brooker's Triangle is really going to be developed. It's going to actually take place. And while the economic condition may warrant this type of favorable treatment to the tenant, I don't know if we want to lock ourselves into this lease kind of indefinitely. And if the economy does pick up, shouldn't we recover some of the concessions that we are giving today? So I would ask that perhaps I would propose to maybe put a 2-year or 18 months limit on this, come back and get council approval again, or our agency approval again. Because right now, the way I read this, it just continues indefinitely. And we would have to then take an affirmative step to bring it back and raise the rent at that point.
I have a question also. What's the value of the move?
The value of the move is approximately $40,000.
$40,000?
Correct.
that's healthy.
Yeah. I think Member Doe has brought up a good point to the extent that it could go on indefinite. I think there should be a cap. Are we able to do that this evening?
I don't believe so, because that was part of the consideration that was exchanged between the existing tenant in business and the bargain rent in exchange for being advised of his relocation eligibility and his request. He initiated the request for the reduction in rent in exchange for waiver of his relocation. So that would be, I think, a substantive term that we would have to go back.
But if we got
and-
direction, could we use that as a basis for modifying the lease, predicated that the tenant agrees to it, rather than bringing it back again for another public hearing?
Well, I would rather ask to continue this item then until the next agency meeting so that we can kind of hash this out and do it formally.
Well, I have another question.
That would be more appropriate.
What triggers us getting rid of it? I mean, what do we have to do what triggers it? I mean, what move makes it that we would actually ask this fellow to move?
At the time we elect to terminate the lease and ask him to vacate the property, then we would be obligated for relocation assistance and benefits.
No. I'm saying if we signed it just the way it is right now, tonight, there's got to be some way of us unloading him so we can do what we want to with that property. What triggers that?
Oh, I think you said a minimum of 12 months?
Minimum of 12 months.
So he would have the benefit of this lease for a minimum of 12 months. After 12 months, then we give him a notice to vacate, and he has to vacate the property without any other obligations or benefits.
So we can get rid of him at any time then?
After 12 months.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a great deal. I mean, basically, we can get rid of him at any time after 12 months.
Can I have a question? It's 4B says 5-year implementation plan, 2010 through 2014, but the lease is a month-to-month.
That's a different agenda item.
Different item.
Okay, so it's not entailing.
connected.
Not
okay,
related.
I see where you're looking.
Yeah,
I keep trying to
4B.
find where you were looking at.
I think,
Mr. Doe, let's talk about that a minute. It seems to me that we can do what you're trying to do, except we have to give them a 12-month notice, which for $40,000 is not a bad deal.
No, I think we're talking about different issues here.
Well, maybe we are, so explain yourself, please.
Our election to terminate the month-to-month lease happens after 12 months. So we can, at any time, choose to exercise that right and evict the tenant. Because it's,
With a 30-day notice or something. I
right,
thought I
right,
saw.
it's a month-to-month, so 30
month-to-month,
days, right. What I'm talking about is, until the Brookhurst Triangle project is developed, with this lease, we are locked into the $2,500 a month rent. And if the economy does pick up, we still are stuck by that lease.
Well, I'm not hearing that. I don't
no,
understand that.
I think the
We
can
are
terminate.
locked into that $2,500 a month.
12 months.
For 12 months.
And then after that, what will be the amount of the lease?
We can
Month to
renegotiate
month
it.
Thereafter, with the right of 30 days' notice to
No, I
terminate.
know, that's terminating the lease, but I'm talking about the rent that we are collecting for that property.
Right. The way that it's set up now, the rent is fixed at $2,500.
But we could rent it to somebody else.
Well, when,
I think Councilman Doe want to know if we have an option to raise the rent.
exactly, why can't we factor in, like the economy may pick up in 2 or 3 years, and at that point, we can go back up to fair market value, because right now it's
And you can
undervalued
do
at
that by
$2,500.
terminating this lease and drafting a new lease.
Do we really want to
So
go into?
I would comment that a part of the consideration exchanged was the bargain rent.
Yeah, $40,000 is I mean, he's buying 12 months, he's buying 12 months for $40,000. I do not consider that a bad deal.
Right, but are we going to evict someone in the middle of a lease just because we want to?
We're not evicting him in the middle of the lease.
But
I mean, that's
what's
part
the
of
difference?
month-to-month.
If it's the same thing, he'll be subject to an increase in rent.
Say 3 years from now, the project is still not developed. We're in this $2,500 a month rent. And then if we want to raise the rent, then we would, what do? We go to him and say either raise the rent, pay the increased rent, or we evict you, right?
Yeah.
Well, we give him 12 months' notice that it's going to happen.
Not 12 months, at that point, it's
30
month to
days.
month.
30 days' notice, excuse me, I'm getting myself mixed up. 30 days' notice is going to happen, and he either pays up or we Put a for rent sign on the property.
As long as he knows that, then I'm fine with it.
As long as it's clear in there, yeah.
Right. I just don't want him to go in and say, hey, I thought we have this agreement, and then here you are trying to squeeze me for an extra, a couple grand a month.
Yeah, he's guaranteed 12 months. After that, he'd be subject to either terminating the lease or renegotiating at a different rate.
With the understanding that if we choose to go up to fair market value, that we can do that any time after the first month, the first 12 months.
Correct.
He might be in a financial position with this depression or recession that's going on, that he has no choice but to make this happen, to reduce that rent.
And I'm not arguing against the $2,500 a month. I'm just saying let's put a cap on it so that, it comes
not
back
locked
for
in.
council review after, say, 2 years. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not.
But this actually is better because it's 12 months.
You can bring it back to council review anytime you want to after 12 months.
Correct.
All you have to do is put it on the agenda.
I think it addresses your concern actually more favorable than initially thought, because it's only guaranteed for 12 months. After that, the agency can terminate for any reason.
Okay. Well, this discussion at least puts on the record so that the tenant is very clear that if we choose to, after 12 months, to increase the rent, that we do have that power to do so, and that he doesn't feel like he's being caught blindsided by that.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, at this time, we will open the public hearing. Does anybody like to speak on this issue?
God bless you.
Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. What is your wish, gentlemen?
Move the item.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Chair Broadwater. Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to 4B, first-year implementation plan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's another public hearing on the 5-year implementation plan, and Greg Brown is here to give a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Chairman Broadwater, members of the agency, before you tonight is a request the agency hold a public hearing and consider a resolution approving the 5-year implementation plan. Okay, I wasn't on. I'm sorry. Let me start over real quickly. Before you tonight is a request that the agency hold a public hearing and consider a resolution approving the 5-year implementation plan for 2010 through 2014 for the community project area and the Buena Clinton project area redevelopment plans. Since 1994, community redevelopment law has required that redevelopment agencies adopt an implementation plan for their project areas every 5 years. An implementation plan outlines the goals and objectives of the original redevelopment plan, identifies potential projects and programs planned to alleviate various physical and economic blighting conditions present in project areas, and provides a good faith estimate of the revenues and expenditures that are likely to be received and expended during the 5-year planning period. It's meant to be a planning document for the agency's projects and activities that are consistent with the goals and objectives of the agency's redevelopment plans, and provide for the following: eliminate blighted conditions, facilitate land assembly, provide financial assistance to facilitate development on a case-by-case basis, provide or improve adequate public infrastructure, encourage private sector development, and maintain or improve the industrial base. Further, the implementation plan also incorporates a 10-year affordable housing compliance plan, which addresses the agency's affordable housing production needs and accomplishments for both project areas. The agency's current implementation plan covers the years 2005 through 2009 and was last updated in June of 2008 with the agency's approval of the midterm plan review. The agency is required to notice and hold a public hearing to receive testimony from all interested parties regarding the proposed 5-year implementation plan that will span the years 2010 through 2014, as I mentioned, including the proposed projects and programs described in the plan for the project areas. With respect to the proposed plan for the next 5-year planning period, staff has prepared a list of policies and programs to remove blighted conditions throughout the project areas and improve the economic conditions consistent with City Council and agency stated goals and strategies. But before we review those, let's take a quick review of some of the highlights of our agency's non-housing related accomplishments during the last 5-year planning period. The Sheraton Hotel. This project included the acquisition and demolition of several obsolete, blighted, and underperforming buildings, and the relocation of several businesses and residential tenants, and of course the construction of a new 7-story Sheraton Hotel with 288 rooms and related meeting space. The project created an estimated 100 construction jobs, roughly 60 new permanent jobs, and is expected to generate an estimated $1 million in transit occupancy tax annually and $350,000 in tax increment per year before the revenue sharing agreement that we have with the developer. The proposed Water Park Hotel DDA, the agency approved a disposition and development agreement with McQuinney Garden Grove MXD in May of 2009 for the development of a 600-room hotel with approximately 200,000 square feet of indoor and outdoor water park conference space and approximately 18,000 square feet of restaurant space located on the west side of Harbor Boulevard just south of Lamson Avenue. The Embassy Suites expansion DDA was approved in January of 2007, and that was with the agency and Landmark Companies, LLC, for the expansion of the existing Embassy Suites Hotel with an additional 238 rooms, 30,000 square feet of meeting space, resort pool and spa, and approximately 5,000 square foot restaurant space. Property acquisitions. Several key parcels have been acquired during the last 5-year period. As you probably know, acquiring property is an important activity for any agency to facilitate future development of both commercial and housing projects. The agency will continue to acquire property as funds become available. We should note, however, though, that the agency has been somewhat restricted in its ability to acquire property or to support affordable housing development over time due to the continued taking of redevelopment funds by the state of California. Moving on to our commercial retail projects, we'll talk a little bit about business retention and outreach. The agency works to keep existing businesses or to help them expand in Garden Grove whenever possible. 3 of the more notable examples are the Boise Cascade Office Max expansion. In 2004-2005 fiscal year, Boise Cascade Office Products Corporation, which, by the way, is a top 25 sales tax producer for the city, requested an amendment to its current participation agreement with the agency in conjunction with their proposed relocation to a larger building located at 7300 Chapman Avenue, immediately west of its current location. That request was approved, and at least 20 new jobs were created as a result of that action. Los Sanchez Mexican Restaurant and Green's Discount Glass and Screen relocations. Both of these long-established Garden Grove businesses needed to be relocated due to the construction of the new Sheraton Hotel. Staff worked diligently to identify city and agency-owned land and other financial resources, allowing both to relocate into brand-new buildings. Now, a brief discussion of our residential activities. The Century Triangle exclusive negotiation agreement. In December 2008, the agency entered into a negotiation agreement with Brandywine Development to develop a multifamily mixed-use housing project on a larger site that included agency-owned property near the northwest corner of Taft Street and Century Boulevard. That proposal has since changed to a 50 to 53 unit single-family project on approximately 2.6 acres owned by the agency. Preliminary site plan development negotiations are underway, and we'll certainly be getting back to you in the near future, we believe, with some more information on that. Going back to business outreach, several significant marketing and outreach efforts were initiated in the previous 5 years, including the Business Beautification Award Program, Garden Grove Salutes, Garden Grove Chamber of Commerce Ambassador Business Retention Program, otherwise known as the ABRB, the Annual Business Breakfast, and the Mayor's Link Business Visitation Program. We believe that these efforts have made a difference with the business community, and most of them, we believe, will continue through the current 2010-2014 planning period. Something else we wanted to briefly touch on was the agency's marketing and outreach efforts. It's another area where the agency has increased its presence on the city's website and through other outreach efforts, both locally and throughout the region, with attendance at professional conferences and trade shows. For International West Resort, we have introduced street banners and tree lighting, bus stop advertising, and improved signage, which have all been implemented to help distinguish the area as a resort destination. We're also using electronic newsletters and sites such as Facebook to promote both Garden Grove and International West. Looking forward into the future, I'd like to mention, again, the proposed Water Park Hotel. And staff has been still working actively with the developer in discussions on how to finance this project and move it forward in the next planning period, and we'll continue to give you updates on that as we move along. I also mentioned previously the Embassy Suites Hotel expansion. That project was placed on hold due to the current lending environment. However, the developer has assured us that they will break ground as soon as construction financing is available and approved, and we sincerely hope that we'll also see that happen during the next 5-year period as well. Now, we need to talk a little bit about affordable housing requirements. In addition to facilitating new commercial development, redevelopment law requires that the agency identify and create affordable housing opportunities, and these responsibilities fall into 3 major categories. First, the production of or replacement of low and moderate income housing depending upon the activities that are undertaken by either the agency or by a private developer within its project areas. Second, set aside an expenditure of 20% of tax increment revenue for the purpose of meeting those production or replacement housing obligations, and to increase, improve, and preserve the community's supply of low and moderate income housing. And 3, preparing reports on how the agency has met or will meet its responsibilities with regard to the first 2 categories. Overall, there are 98 low or moderate income production units for the community project area and 18 low or moderate income production units for the Boyne and Clinton area that need to be created as a result of our past activities. To assist with these needs, an additional 103 housing units with 55-year covenant affordability covenants that will be substantially rehabilitated and preserved in the Boyne and Clinton project area as a result of the Grove Park project are planned for the 5-year period. And you'll recall that you approved an affordable housing agreement between the city and the developer on July 28th of this year. And we understand that that is moving closer to closing. The agency is currently in compliance with its replacement housing units under the current planning cycle. However, we need to plan ahead for the upcoming 5-year cycle, and we will be monitoring that closely, certainly with the help of our consultants and attorneys. But let's talk about some of the agency's housing accomplishments during the last 5-year period, and then we'll talk quickly about what we're going to do in the new 5-year period, and then we'll be pretty close to being finished. First of all, the Senior Citizen Home Rehabilitation Grants Program. The Neighborhood Improvement Division of the Community Development Department actually completed 85 home rehabilitation grants for senior citizens 62 years of age or older. And improvements range from exterior and interior home repairs to code violations, safety issues, mobility, and accessibility improvements. Another program, the Mobile Home Rehabilitation Grants Program, where the Neighborhood Improvement Division completed a total of 118 mobile home rehabilitation grants. And improvements range from, again, code violations and correcting or addressing substandard conditions and health and safety issues. And following are some of the proposed projects and programs that we're recommending for the next 5-year period. And looking specifically at the Brookhurst Triangle, the city and agency took the initiative to entitle the approximately 14-acre site known as the Brookhurst Triangle, as you know. It's generally located on the northwest corner of Garden Grove Boulevard and Brookhurst Street, and the improved entitlements call for up to 700 for-sale housing units and 200,000 square feet of commercial space with a maximum of a 10-story configuration. The agency will be seeking developers within the next 5-year planning period, and some proportion of the units in any project could be reserved for affordable housing purposes, and certainly we could discuss that at the appropriate time. We're also talking about the Senior Citizen Home Rehabilitation Grants Program, whereby the Neighborhood Improvement Division offers home rehabilitation grants up to $5,000 for senior citizens 62 years of age or older to make exterior and interior home repairs to address code violations, safety issues, and mobility and accessibility improvements. Another area of activity for the agency could be the new construction of affordable multifamily rental or ownership housing units. The agency will explore opportunities to assist housing developers with the construction of new affordable for-sale and rental housing units for low to moderate income families which achieve long-term income restrictions. That's 55 years for rental or 45 years for owner-occupied units. Potential new housing construction projects located within the project area could include Century Triangle, Brookhurst Triangle, she mentioned previously, Sycamore Walk Phase 2, which is near Garden Grove Boulevard and West Street, and Sweet Homes development, which is proposed currently for the north side of Garden Grove Boulevard near West Street. The Garden Grove Agency for Community Development has undertaken bold and visionary actions in the past for the betterment of the project areas and for Garden Grove as a whole. There have been many challenges and difficult decisions, but if all the projects and programs discussed here this evening come to fruition, along with others outlined in the 5-year plan, it could conceivably bring between $750 million and $1 billion in new development value to the city and the jobs and revenue that come with it. There's no environmental impact tonight in taking action on this report. It does not constitute a project under the California Environmental Quality Act, Specific programs and projects contained within the plan could be evaluated for CEQA clearance on a case-by-case basis. There's also no immediate financial or fiscal impact incurred by adopting the plan. The agency will consider actual expenditures for the identified projects and programs at the time the agency considers approval of their respective projects and programs. This plan meets the community vision implementation goal to improve the city's economic base through the development of tax-generating uses where appropriate and further affordable housing opportunities in the community. Staff recommends that the agency hold a public hearing, accept public comment, and adopt the attached resolution approving the 5-year implementation plan for the period 2010 through 2014. And with that, as always, staff is available to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none at this time, we will open the public hearing. Anybody from the audience like to speak? Hearing none, at this time, we will close the public hearing.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Matters from agency members or director. Any comments? Anybody want to add anything? Okay, when we're adjourning to, I think you get a 5-week vacation on this. January 12th. We'll adjourn to January 12th. I would like to ask the mayor if we could take another 5 minutes real quick.
Okay, well, at this time, then, there's some cake that, well,
For what
I can
purpose,
hold it.
Mayor?
I can hold it. There's some cake. Yeah. Yeah, we're celebrating my birthday, so.
Can we
Yeah,
sing
let's
before
go
we
ahead.
go?
Can we sing happy birthday?
Can we sing it here?
And the next item is reorganization of the sanitary district, selection of president and vice president.